starts to cool off and the bass start to move out of their shallow water places and they start to get in this, deeper water wintering pattern, there's probably no better bait to be able to catch some fish than a Gary Yamamoto custom baits Hula Grub. Now the Hula Grub's been around for years and years, and there's a tremendous amount of different color variations to fish and a tremendous amount of different ways to rig this bait depending upon what kind of water that I'm gonna fish during the day. But my favorite when these fish start to get off the bank and get in their wintering places around gravel bars and little rock piles and places like that is a technique that I refer to as one-tunning. And that's when we're going to use this Hula Grub matched up with a Yamamoto football jig head, but in a very large size, 3/4 ounce or 1 ounce is my preferred size jig head that I want to fish. A really heavy football head jig. And the two different models that I'm fishing is the 44G and the 44W. And the 44G does not have a weed guard, and the 44W does have a weed guard. And that really, comes into play depending upon what kind of cover or structure I'm fishing around. If I'm around, gravel bars and small rocks and places like that, or little small isolated pieces of rock and cover, I like this 44G head for doing that. And if I'm fishing where there may be some suspended timber or stumps or any kind of wood, I like that head that has a little bit of a weed guard to it, because I just get hung up just a little bit less fishing that style head. So either one of those will work really good, but you want to make sure that you pick the 1 ounce size or 3/4 ounce size. A lot of guys really shy away from fishing a head that's this big, but I'm telling you, for this 1-ton technique, when the fish get out in deep water and it's fairly cold, this is a dynamite way to catch some fish. The other thing about this jig head too is that you'll notice in the line tie that it's offset a little bit. It's 35 degrees on both of these heads, and that really helps in not only keeping this bait and this head snag free for the most part, it also helps when you're setting the hook, and it makes it so that when you set the hook, the jig head won't slam against the inside of the fish's mouth, pop his mouth open, and then out comes the jig. And that's why we lose some fish sometimes fishing a big heavy jig, is that you don't get great hook penetration depending upon how that line tie is. And this one's 35 degrees, and the weed guard head is also 35 degrees, so that helps quite a bit. As far as types of baits that you're going to put on these heads, you can virtually fish anything from dark colors, black and blue, or variations of that, to natural colors like a green pumpkin purple, which is another one of my favorite colors. That's most of the time when they're on kind of a crawfish diet, and that's the preferred prey for the bass. But I also like to mix it up just a little bit and fish another kind of obscure color that Yamamoto makes that not a lot of guys think about, and that's pearl blue with hologram, and it's really a bait fish type pattern wrapped up into the Hula Grub. And this is an awesome color variation, especially when the bass get on more of a bait fish type of diet. So I may have both of these rigged up. I'll probably have a natural kind of green pumpkin pattern, and I'm also going to have this bait fish color pattern, and I'll alternate throughout the day to see kind of what they like best. But either one of those two colors is really all that you're going to need when you're going out doing this 1-ton technique. The other thing that's unique about it too is that you can really beef your tackle up. 7.5 foot flipping stick with 17-pound test fluorocarbon line, make a real long cast, and that's really the whole thing. You're fishing a big bait, you're going to kind of crawl it along really slow along the bottom until you find a piece of cover or structure. And then what I'm able to do once I find that is, shake my rod tip in place or kind of drag that bait. It's barely, a slow retrieve, and that's where this, 1 ounce head really comes into place, because I can keep that bait in the strike zone of the fish. The last thing that you want to have when you're doing this is, when you start catching fish, the unique thing about this pattern is you're just not going to catch one. You're going to catch, probably a whole bunch of fish, all from one little spot. So you need to be able to figure out where it is that you're catching fish from and how to make that proper cast again to catch some more fish. So having a marker buoy is a really useful tool when you're out there fishing out offshore and fishing specific little pieces of cover and structure, because when I start catching fish, I can just grab my marker buoy and throw it overboard and be able to have a guidance as to where I need to keep my boat to make another cast to catch some more fish. So few important tools that we've got, but a very simple technique to go out there and catch some fish when the water really starts to cool down and those fish get out in their wintering spots. Try it next time you're out there. I'm Mike DelVisco, and I'll see you on the water.